Hey boys and girls, can you touch your weenus? This is your weenus. This is the Weenus Test. For those of us who have a good front rack position, it's very easy for us to touch our weenuses and be able to look at someone. Is that wrong? So we're gonna show you two examples of a front rack position. So, my beautiful assistants here, let's have you, Rob, let's have you go up in that front rack position. Right, so we'll notice here, his elbows, right, are nice and, or his humerus is nice and parallel to the ground, elbows are forward, and this looks comfortable, right? He looks like he can hang out here for a good few minutes without a problem. He's not sweating. All right, let's have you come back down. That's a very nice front rack position. Now, lovely assistant Keith, he's gonna come all the way up, right? And so we start to see there's a little bit of gap here, right? His elbows are pointing down. He does not look that comfortable, right? He's starting to turn a little red. He's putting on a good face for the camera right now. But overall, this is not a position he would like to hang out in. Is this a position you'd like to hang out in?
No, not
Okay,
at all.
perfect. Let's have you put it down. So, you guys see this all the time in your gyms. There's people that are very comfortable in the front rack position. There's people that are not. The question that you then need to answer is, where is the restriction coming from? So that's where the Weenus test comes in. One of the things that we need for a good front rack is we need to be able to have some amount of shoulder flexion, a certain amount of shoulder adduction, and then a certain amount of external rotation in order to get into that nice position. So if we see Rob, you remember his front rack position, what we want to do is we want to bring his elbows, hold on, elbows up to shoulder height. They're going to remain at shoulder height, come on in and touch, and then he needs to be able to externally rotate just a little bit, right? And being able to do this will result in that nice front rack position. Also notice that he's not extending from his back at the side. That's what we'll tend to see. Now, if we come over and look at Keith here, right? He's gonna get those, look at those guns, right? So from here, he's gonna try and put his elbows together, and that's a problem, right? He's unable to really get them in there. And so that's telling me that his front rack position is partially caused by his shoulder. Now, what a lot of guys will say that have nice big chests, right? They can be like, yo, it's just my pecs, bro. My pecs are too big, that's why I can't get in the position, right? So those guys are gonna tend to have their elbows pointed down. You can exaggerate it. Bring it all the way up, come all the way in, right? Pecs are out of the way here, and it's fine. Keep in mind, Jacob Hutton has a wonderful front rack position, and he has glutes for pecs, right? It has nothing to do with your pecs getting away. It has everything to do with the mobility of your shoulder. Now, if you're someone who can actually pass the Weenus test, but your front rack position is still difficult, we're gonna test wrist extension, which we've gone over multiple times before. Now, if we've identified a failed Weenus test, we have a couple interventions for you. So Keith, if you will. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna set up on a bench here. We're gonna take a light weight to start. We're gonna bring that all the way up to the side. Now from here, we wanna go into external rotation, and then control this all the way down to the ground in the plane of the shoulder. The tendency is gonna have the hand fall a little bit short, right? Keeps working hard there, come back up, right? So it should take a good solid 5 count on the way down, come up with at least a 3 count. So we're nice and controlled. He's keeping that shoulder pulled nice and back, come all the way down and back up. Let's just do one more for fun. Right, so this is cultivating a little bit of external rotation. That's why we have him hold that position. And now we're coming into adduction. So this is a little bit of a mobility drill, right? It's not necessarily focusing on, pulling apart adhesion, but he's going to be resisting that motion, which is going to pull him into a better position. Now, if we start to see you bring those elbows in together, right, there's not going to be a huge difference, right? It's not going to happen in day one, but we do start to see a little bit of asymmetry where he's able to pull that in a little bit more. The other drill that we can do, made popular by Kelly Starrett, is again, we're gonna use the bench. So let's have you hop on the other side of the bench. Okay, you're gonna put your elbows on the bench. Okay, flip your wrists around. Right, try and pull those elbows in as much as possible, right? And then from here, we're gonna drive the chest on down, right? This is gonna be working a little bit of flexion in the shoulder. Come off tension a little bit. So come all the way up. The next thing we can do here is to get a little bit more external rotation, is to walk those hands out as much as we can, right? And then go back on tension. And you can see that's gonna become a little bit more difficult. But again, that's gonna cultivate a little bit more external rotation if that's what you're missing in your front rack. Thank you, Keith, right? So not only is it about identifying a poor front rack position, but it's also identifying where the restriction is coming from. So that's where the Weenus test comes in. I want you guys to try this with your athletes, both the athletes that are very capable of a good front rack positions and the athletes that are incapable, and you're gonna see the difference. This is the Weenus test.
Weenus?
The Weenus test is your Weenus.
Weenus is?
Weenus test.
The Weenus test?
Weenus test.
Or the Weenus test?
Is the Weenus test.